You feel like you're walking on eggshells, calculating every word to avoid displeasing her. You call it being a good partner, respect, caring. But the truth is a chill down your spine, a dissonance you can't quite name. The more you try to please her, the more distant and cold she seems. What behavioral science knows, and you don't yet, is that your effort to win her approval isn't a sign of virtue, it's a sign of weakness. It's a biological radar that goes off in the female mind, alerting her to the absence of a backbone. And this effort, this desperate attempt to be the good man, is precisely what's digging the grave for the attraction she once felt for you. You believe you're building a bridge, when in reality, you're just handing her the shovel to bury desire. Your intention is noble, but your strategy is suicidal. You operate under a secret contract that you drafted and signed alone. In this contract, you offer kindness, security, and perpetual agreement. In return, you expect to receive what you need most: desire, admiration, and above all, validation. The problem is, she never signed this contract. She doesn't even know it exists. To her, your predictable kindness isn't a gift, it's a service. You've become the waiter in an expensive restaurant, flawless, attentive, anticipating her every wish, smiling at the right moment, and receding when you sense the slightest hesitation. You execute the service with perfection, but forget the most brutal detail of all. No one falls in love with the waiter. He is there to serve, not to lead. And by placing yourself in that role, you cease to be a life partner and become a provider of conveniences. This dynamic transforms attraction into affection, and affection into a fraternal burden. Resentment becomes inevitable on both sides. If you stay with me until the end, you will understand the exact mechanism that flips the attraction switch off in a woman's mind, and how you can begin to reverse this destructive process today, without games, without manipulation, just the brutal truth of evolutionary psychology. Tell me in the comments now, have you ever felt completely invisible to a woman who, in your mind, should value you more than anyone? I read every single comment, and if you're not already part of this channel, subscribe now, because what's coming in the next few minutes will destroy the lies you've been told your entire life. You become the perfect waiter, and the fatal mistake is believing she wants to have dinner with the waiter. She doesn't want to have dinner with the waiter because her instinct doesn't seek a servant but a sovereign. What you call being good is, in fact, the abdication of your post, and nature abhors a power vacuum. This is the essence of sexual polarity, the magnetic dance between masculine energy, which is direction, purpose, decision, and feminine energy, which is flow, connection, nurturance. When you seek her approval for every step, you're not being collaborative, you're handing her the burden of direction. You're asking her to assume your energy, to be the masculine pole of the relationship. The result is two magnets with the same pole facing each other. They might coexist in the same space, but the force of attraction, the tension that pulls one to the other, is dead. And I tell you this not just as a researcher of human behavior, but as a woman. Nothing is more biologically repulsive than a man who forces you to lead him. It's the funeral of desire, celebrated with the flowers of your good intentions. Don't take my word for it. Trust biology. Evolutionary psychologist David Buss, in his monumental research spanning 37 different cultures, discovered an inconvenient truth. In every corner of the planet, from isolated tribes to modern metropolises, women consistently and relentlessly prioritize men who demonstrate status, confidence, and emotional stability. These are not superficial desires, they are biological markers that signal the ability to protect, provide, and lead. Your incessant search for external validation is a direct and universal anti-signal for all of these traits. Every time you ask, "Did you like it? Is that okay with you? Where do you want to go?" you're not being kind. You are screaming to her primitive brain that you don't trust yourself, that your emotional state is unstable, and that you lack the capacity to lead even yourself, let alone a family. Her attraction isn't a logical choice she makes. It's an inevitable biological response to stimuli that you, in your attempt to be good, have miserably failed to emit. This is why the throne of your relationship is empty. By abandoning your role as leader, you force her to sit on it, and a queen feels no desire for the subject who handed her the crown. Worse, she feels overwhelmed, exhausted from having to make all the decisions, the big ones and, especially, the small ones. You think you're easing her burden by asking what she wants for dinner, but you're actually adding another item to her infinite mental load. You become another project for her to manage, another responsibility. And this dynamic has a name you may have already heard in a whisper of contempt or a frustrated outburst. You want to know why she's so tired, why the passion has become an obligation. Because deep down, she feels exhausted, taking care of one more child. And a mother feels no desire for the son she has to guide. Because attraction is not an act of charity. It is an involuntary response to the presence of power. And the first step to reclaiming that power is not to change her behavior, but to understand the faulty architecture of your own brain. After years studying the psychology of attraction, what I am about to tell you will change how you see every interaction. Science, through researchers like David Buss and Marty Hazelton, has identified a male cognitive bias called the sexual overperception bias, the tendency to overestimate a woman's sexual interest based on ambiguous signals. Your brain deceives you, making you see interest where there is only politeness or kindness. And it's this uncertainty, this distrust in your own judgment, that launches you into the vicious cycle of microvalidation. You search her face for confirmation of a reality your brain invented, and every question you ask, "Did you like it? Is this okay?" is a testament to your own insecurity. You become an addict seeking the next hit of approval, and she, the unwitting dealer who grows tired of the addict. The man who doesn't need this approval isn't being arrogant. He's operating from a fundamental law of interpersonal power. Whoever needs less controls the dynamic. He becomes the emotional anchor in an ocean of chaos. Think about it. The female emotional world is, by nature, fluid, intense, at times tempestuous. The role of the man who understands polarity is not to calm the ocean or to become a wave along with it. It is to be the rock, the anchor, the unshakable structure against which the waves crash, but which remains firm in its place, with its purpose. This stability is what her instinct secretly craves, as it signals safety and competence. It is his presence that allows her to relax into her own energy, knowing the helm is in firm hands. Now, be brutally honest with yourself. When was the last time you acted as the anchor? When was the last time you made a decision, held an opinion, or followed a plan without glancing at her face, hunting for that micro-expression of approval to validate your own worth? This incessant search for validation has an inevitable and fatal consequence. It kills spontaneity and makes every interaction calculated, heavy, and above all, predictable. You become a script read aloud, with no surprise, no tension, no spark of the danger that fuels desire. Tell me in the comments, have you ever made yourself smaller to keep someone who never truly chose you? I read everything. The real consequence of this addiction isn't just boredom, it's something far worse, something that transforms attraction into its absolute opposite. His brain is addicted to approval, and what happens to every addict? He becomes predictable, boring, and easy to control. You become predictable, boring, and easy to control. And here is the truth you refuse to face. The opposite of attraction is not indifference, it's contempt. Wake up. Your pain is not unique. It is a humiliating and repeatable pattern, echoing in thousands of anonymous forums across the internet. We've read what they write when you're not looking. They don't use pretty words. They say, "The attraction just switched off. It's like taking care of another kid." They say, "I love him as a person, but the thought of intimacy repulses me. I feel like his mother." They say, "Every time he asked me, 'Is everything okay?' a part of me died." This is not your tragic private love story. This is the inevitable biological consequence of a man who abdicated his power. You're not being sensitive, you're being a burden, and while you congratulate yourself on your modern sensibility, her primitive brain, the part that truly commands desire, has already classified you as incompetent, unstable, and, above all, sexually irrelevant. You are not the exception, you are the rule. And the rule says that the nice guy always ends up alone in his own marriage bed. The secret I promised you at the beginning isn't a technique, it's a demolition. It's the unbearable truth that separates the boys from the men. Listen carefully, because no one has ever told you this so bluntly. She doesn't love you because you are good. She respects you because you are strong. And without respect, female love is biologically impossible. Respect is the foundation upon which desire may or may not be built. And respect, to the female instinct, is synonymous with power. Not power over her, power over yourself, your life, your mission, your conviction. You've spent your entire life trying to learn the combination to the safe of her love, when your only task was to forge your own key. There are passages in a man's life, invisible thresholds that, once crossed, change your reality forever. This is one of them. The door that separates the common man, the waiter, the son, from the sovereign man. And to cross this door, you must die. The you that needs her validation, that fears conflict, that believes agreement is love, that man needs to be executed. It's a one-way passage, and the toll is your fear of her disapproval. But isn't that selfish? What about partnership? What about dialogue? These are the excuses your weakness whispers to keep you in the comfort zone of your own misery. A real partnership is the union of two pillars, not a pillar and a vine that needs to cling to it to avoid collapsing. You don't have a pillar, you are the vine. You confuse dialogue with submission and partnership with the annihilation of your own self. You have become an echo, a reflection, a shadow that only moves when she turns on the light. And that's why she no longer sees you, because there is nothing to be seen. She doesn't admire you because there is nothing to be admired. And in the deafening silence of your bedroom, as you wonder why her desire has vanished, the answer is staring back at you from the mirror, but you lack the courage to admit it. If you agree with absolutely everything she says and does, how can she know where you end and she begins? If you've made it this far, you are not the average viewer. There is a layer that goes beyond this video, exclusive videos not on the public channel. You can access them via the join button below. And beyond the content, it's the most direct way to keep these videos coming every week. This truth is a blow, I know. But a man is not rebuilt with consolation. He is rebuilt with architecture. The mistake you've made until today was believing that the hardening of your character is a performance, a dominant leader mask you wear to impress. It is the exact opposite. It's the natural, inevitable expression of a man who has built for himself a standard of excellence, who is governed by a purpose, and who has an unshakable awareness of his own value. Your focus shifts from, "What will she think of me?" to, "Is this aligned with my mission?" External validation, especially hers, becomes a distant echo, muffled by the sound of your own internal forge. And it's here that biology bows to your will. By becoming indifferent to her approval because you are focused on something greater, you trigger the pre-selection switch. You become a man whose competence and value are validated by his own ambition, a scarce resource, and her instinct, which for millennia has been trained to identify the highest value man in the environment, has no choice but to register your presence. This shift in focus requires you to understand one non-negotiable rule. No sovereign man places a woman above his mission. Not out of coldness or selfishness, but because the universe, and especially the female universe, relentlessly punishes the man who abandons himself in exchange for approval. Your personal sovereignty must be an impregnable fortress. The walls are your principles, non-negotiable. The cannons are your boundaries, clear and firm. The flag hoisted at the top is your life's mission, visible from miles away. She can be invited inside. She can admire the architecture. She can feel safe under the protection of your walls. But she is never, under any circumstances, given the keys to the main gate. She is a welcome ally, not the reigning queen. The man who hands over the keys to his fortress in exchange for affection doesn't gain a partner. He gains a conqueror who, upon seeing there was no battle, loses all respect for the kingdom she just took. Now, look inside. Do you have a fortress standing, or just the ruins of a fort you imploded yourself so she wouldn't feel intimidated? The construction of this internal fortress, with your mission as its banner, changes the nature of every interaction. Your actions are no longer pleas for attention, they are declarations of who you are. Your decisions don't seek consensus, they create the reality around you. You stop trying to negotiate attraction, to bargain for desire, because you understand it operates on a completely different frequency. You finally internalize the most fundamental law of polarity and power. Female desire is never requested, it's triggered. If what I just explained resonated, subscribe to this channel. What you heard today is only the entry point. Every week I go deeper into a layer most men will never see. Because provoking this desire consistently requires understanding one last paradox, a final trap that, if not understood, turns the sovereign king into a tyrant and puts all this work to waste. And it is this trap we're going to talk about now. And here lies the final paradox of power, the trap that turns the sovereign king into a tyrant. True power is not control over her, it's absolute control over yourself. By retaining your authority, by not transferring it in exchange for validation, you create the leadership vacuum that her instinct was programmed to admire. You finally occupy the throne you left vacant for so long. And the blinders are off. This clarity is brutal. The pain of the truth is infinitely preferable to the false comfort of the lie you were living, but the landscape you see now is desolate because it reveals how much of yourself you have erased. If you've come this far, you already understand that the problem was never her. It was the map you were using. Personal sovereignty is not selfishness. It's the gift that allows her to finally relax into her feminine energy, knowing the helm is in firm hands. From this point on, you have only two roads. The first is the one you already know, that of the nice guy, the waiter, paved with your dignity, where you will continue to trade pieces of your soul for crumbs of affection until there is nothing left to give or for her to despise. The second road is harder, lonelier. It is the path of sovereignty, where every step is a battle against your own weakness. There are no guarantees, no applause, just the echo of your own footsteps towards a destiny you forged yourself. The choice is not mine, it is yours, and it was already made the moment you decided to watch this video to the end. If you've made it this far, there is a next step. I've placed it in the video that is now appearing on your screen, and I recommend you watch it before you sleep tonight, to seal your commitment not to me, but to the man you've decided to become. The world does not reward the man who asks for permission. It makes way for the man who has a destination. English adaptation complete. All steps concluded. The agent is ready.